Right, Dally M Awards time. I'm going to go through all the awards, starting with Rookie of the Year. I think Sam Walker's locked and loaded, baby. 17 games, starting halfback for the Roosters. However, this is not about what I think will happen. It's what I believe should happen, who I think the Rookie of the Year is. Now, look, I've found this one weird. I didn't think Sam Walker was the best player, but ultimately, a lot of recency bias in that he hasn't been playing halfback the last 6 weeks. And I thought it was Reece Walsh personally. However, I've looked at some stats. Reece Walsh has played a lot less games than I thought as well. So I think Walker should get it just ahead of Walsh, and then Schuster should be third. But I think it should be really close. However, because it's done on Dally M vote, so it wouldn't be surprised if it's a whitewash, because Schuster probably will struggle to pick up votes in Manly, and Reece Walsh is playing in a team that lost a lot of games. So I think Walker could cruise to that one. Captain of the Year, I've given it to James Tedesco. I just think the way he's led his team through really tough times at points, he probably didn't even know some of the blokes he was playing with. And I will say about Teddy, he's become a bit of a whinger, as a lot of captains do. But ultimately, this is a tough award because we don't really know what a captain's like. But I just think the way he's week in, week out, he leads by example. He's one of those captains. He's not like, the loudest talker, but yeah, he leads by example, always plays 9 or 10 out of 10 each week. And I think he's a huge reason why the Roosters made finals and are still in the competition. Coach of the Year, pretty much copy and paste what I just said. I've got Trent Robinson in there. I just think to come fifth and look at the outs he's had in his squad this year and the cap space they have, pretty impressive. And I don't think many other coaches could do it. You can always argue Craig Bellamy gets Dally M Coach of the Year, but for me, I think it's Trent Robinson. And there's a lot of people saying Des Hasler, but for me, there's no doubt that their improvement has stemmed from Turbo. And I know it's not solely Turbo because a lot of the other players have improved, but just the fact that they were so bad without Turbo and so good with him makes me not think that Desi should win this award. Try of the Year, I've given it to Manly's last try of the game against the Cowboys. I know this could be recency bias, but I honestly think that's the best try I've ever seen. Turbo's individual one in the same game could be a contender, but I just think Ruben Garrick running back, 80th minute last play, nothing to play for, and they score one of the great length of the field tries I've ever seen. I think it deserves it. Tackle of the Year, I know it's a bit weird that I'm going through these awards, but I'm doing it, baby. I went back and watched the tackles. Not many standout contenders like last year's Josh Papalee ankle tap, but I'll give it to Xavier Coates. He made this chase down tackle at Suncorp on Dane Gagai. Gagai had about a 10-meter head start, ran 50 meters, tackled him over the sideline. Really, really good tackle, actually. But yes, I think the actual tackle of the year for me, it wasn't a tackle. Might have been Halum Lukey. Someone chased Reece Walsh down and they grabbed his collar and tried to sling him over the boundary, the sideline, and they flung him into the try line and he scored. But for me, that was the funniest because he chased down Reece Walsh, who's this pacey kid and everything. But anyway, Peter Frilingos, headline moment of the year. This is a tough one because I tried to look back at the history and see the kind of things they give it to. For me, the things that have probably made the most headlines is the Magic Round Blitz that happened. Obviously, 14 sin-bin and send-off combined, I think. I think that's the most of all time. And the media just went absolutely crazy that week. I don't think I've ever seen as much NRL stuff on social media in my life. And then, obviously, the Latrell thing. They were huge moments. Got the media talking the most, I think, from the year. But I don't know if they give them to negative things because to me that sounds a bit weird. So I'm going to say the Blues win in game 1. I don't think anyone saw it coming. The Blues were the favourite as usual, but the Maroons won fairly convincingly last year. And yeah, the Blues just pumped them. I forget what the score was. It was 46-4, 50-4, 52-6, something like that, something in that ballpark. But yeah, it was one of the most convincing Origin wins I've ever seen. No one was really expecting it in North Queensland as well. Yeah, I just think that is the headline moment of the year for me if they stay away from the somewhat negative stuff. I know the Magic Round Blitz isn't really negative, but most of the headlines were negative. All right, Dally M Team of the Year, and then I'll say my Player of the Year at the end because obviously my Dally M Team of the Year will give it away. Fullback, I've got obviously Tommy Turbo. Wing, I've got Brian To'o. Think he's been immense. And yes, he's obviously been injured, but still think he deserves it. Other winger, I've got Daniel Tupou. They're both in the top 10, I think maybe top 5 for average post-contact meters a game. And I think that's one of the most important stats because that sort of just shows. Like, I know meters before contact is important as well. Like, if you're, getting 3 meters before contact and 4 after, you're not as good as a player getting 8 before. But I think everyone, you know what I mean. It's not so much skill getting to the contact. If you're working through it, getting 7 meters a tackle after being hit, I think that's really impressive. So I've got those two there. Justin Olam and Ryan Burton are my centers. I think the Manly boys are pretty stiff here. Remus Smith, stiff. Probably some others I'm forgetting. Joey Manu, also stiff, but I just think Justin Olam's been the best centre for me. Him and Adokar is just a freakish combination. He's a crazy defender as well. So good at assisting Adokar. And yeah, Matty Burton, surprise of the year, you'd have to say, being Dally M Centre of the Year. But yeah, I think he's been that good. He's so fast. He's so damaging. Yeah, I think he's a gun. And I think even at centre, his non-preferred position, he can win this award. 5'8", I've got Cody Walker. I think 5'8's a real weak point of the NRL right now. I thought about Jerome Luai because his first 10 weeks were awesome, but ultimately I think Cody Walker's run home has been too good. Nathan Cleary at halfback, not much of a discussion there. Jerome Hughes will get a lot of votes because Melbourne win a lot and he's been really, really, really good this year. But yeah, ultimately it's got to be Cleary, doesn't it? Prop, I've got Payne Haas. Any Broncos win, he probably gets 3 votes, and any Broncos loss, he probably pushes for 1 vote. But yeah, ultimately, I think he's the best prop in the game by some bit. Hooker, I've got Brandon Smith. He'll pick up a lot of votes, as I mentioned, for Jerome Hughes. Same thing, but also I believe he's been the best hooker in the game. Probably another spot like 5'8", where I don't think the competition's been that dominant this year. And hooker, obviously, Harry Grant on the bench. Damien Cook been poor. Coruscant's been hit and miss. Like, that probably sounds a bit harsh. He's been good, but not outstanding. In the other prop, I've got Fanue Blake. I can't remember what metric I used. It was either post-contact or just meters in general. And he was in, like, the top 5 for that, which I didn't know. And I didn't actually know he played, like, 16 games. So I put him in there. Maybe I haven't watched him enough to be putting him in there, but I just remember last year for Manly, he was so damaging in some games. And to think if he's in like the top 5 for that stat, I can only imagine what he was doing with the eye test. Like he was probably tearing games up. David Fifet is my first second rower. How many tries he scored? 17, 18. Like, that's crazy from a back rower, tackle bus machine. And I know he's sort of been used weirdly. Some people will question whether he's worth the money, but ultimately his performance alone gets him in this team. And then second row is Isaiah Papalee. Maybe he hasn't had the finish to the season that, I know I just said he played awesome on the weekend, but he hasn't been playing back row. He hasn't been playing back row recently, so you could argue, does he deserve to be back row? But for me, like, first 15 weeks, he was awesome. He's probably buy of the year by some margin. Lock, I've got Cam Murray, just snubbed Isaiah Yeo, but I've got Murray in there. Think he's been immense for the Rabbitohs. Yeah, just a gun. Glad they've stopped trying him on the edge because he's a middle forward, absolute beast defending, and he's also so fast and so good on his feet. He's just, perfect lock. And then interchange, this was a really tough one. Harry Grant, I tried to make it so they played a minimum of 12 games in that position. Nico Hines hadn't played enough games. Harry Grant hadn't played enough games. The other candidates, Stefano Utoikamanu, he's been pretty good. But I went with Tom Starling. I just think when he comes on for the Raiders, I've sort of hyped him up the last couple episodes if you've been listening. But I think when he comes on for the Raiders, they become a better team. And yeah, he's just a really, really damaging hooker. Loves running out of the dummy half position. Yeah, gun tackler. Yeah, I just love Tommy Starling, and he's my interchange player of the year.
It's a miracle! Oh, yeah! What about that one? Unbelievable! Papalee, Aguero! Crowd cheers. Here's Siddle.